Welcome back to the Lost Info Podcast. As always, this is keeping you awake, Jake.
And Jake.
We are back for the part 3 and the final part on alien races, straight out of the KGB book that was found. I believe it was in like the 2000s, but it goes all the way back to the 1940s. It was apparently a field guide book that had updated notes and everything else of all the different races of aliens and their ships and their agendas and whatnot. So we're going to finish up the alien races and then shortly go through some of the notes. Not all of them. There's a ton. So I do suggest that you go download the book. It's free in a lot of different places, but it's known as the KGB Alien Races book. And again, it was a field guide for the Russians at the time and Russian officials. So pretty interesting book. Obviously, we can't prove it until they come down that they're accurate, but there's a lot of specific notes that lead me to think that there's something there. It's just it'd be weird if it was just all made up, but you never know. Either way, this was a book that goes way back. It was also said that the guy that owned it was the diplomat, and his grandson is the one that had got it when he cleaned out his attic. So we left off at the reptilian race, and now we are on to Alcobata, the Alcobata race. Again, probably butchering a lot of these names, but if I am wrong, please come down and tell me. So based on their looks, what do you think, Jake? Or before we get into talking about the notes?
Somewhat humanoid looking at them. They look like they'd be about an average sized human.
Yeah, I was going to say, based on the pictures that I've seen, I would say maybe like on the taller side human, like 6 foot maybe.
Right.
But yeah, they're very humanoid. For the people that aren't watching on YouTube, they do have wider set eyes, but they're not big and
look like to be along the line of gills also for breathing over like an insect nose.
Yeah, kind of like a big channel that comes down where the nose is, but the eyes are wide set. They're more human size eyes instead of big alien typical eyes, I suppose. Big lips, human features for the most part. They look kind of ripped, so keep in good shape, I suppose. They don't seem as skinny as a lot of
like the gangly.
Yes. Well, I mean, some talk about the grays, like
right.
Basically like little Twizzler arms and whatever else. But these guys look pretty. I mean, they don't look threatening from the picture. Again, we went through a lot of alien races, and some are deceiving, some look mean, and their agendas apparently aren't that.
I don't know, those guys look quite menacing.
You think they do?
I would not want to engage with them.
I think I would be nervous if I saw one, but they don't, based on like their eyes, I don't know, like in this picture, and anyway, this one particular picture, they don't look like they're threatening. Anyway, I put it this way. If there was any other alien that came down, like the fact that they could get here, they could probably F you up with just their mind,
right?
Just cripple you.
The fact that they're here.
Yeah, so I mean, you either gotta I don't know, what do you run and just get sucked back, or they'll use telepathy and throw you against the wall. I mean, yeah, I don't know. This one, let's just get into it. Let's read the notes on these guys. Alcobata. Presumably they have over 5,000 ships and have colonized over 100 planets on their own. Considered by other aliens as one of the parasite races. I was just telling Jake, I think that's kind of what we'd be considered as human race, but I mean, I don't know, maybe not. It depends, I suppose, if being categorized in an upper class of races, they might just suck all the resources like at once, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like draining, not over time, like
locusts.
Yeah, like not over time, like just like in short period of time, just suck it all dry, have all the energy.
Take the natural resources and leave up barren planets.
Yeah. which we kind of are, but it's over a long period of time. We don't have the technology, or at least told the technology to do anything on that level. But the abductions of humans are frequent and ongoing. The purpose of the human abductions is apparently unknown by the KGB at the time that they did these notes. They do not like to interact with other alien races. So again, seems to me like, like races like this, like I think people want to categorize that they might be evil or malevolent or whatever, but to me it just sounds like bacteria. Like it's nothing other than survival. We just go suck resources, do what we have to do, and avoid everything else. Like really probably no emotion. It's just what they do to survive. I don't think it's purposeful. It doesn't seem like in those kind of notes. Just seems like a parasite. Just not a lot of thought behind it. Just do what we do to survive. They come from the constellation Perseus, and are extremely aggressive. So I guess with that note, that's different.
Right, that changes things.
That changes things.
Say they look malicious. They look like they're an aggressive race.
Yeah. See,
the
picture. If you're on YouTube, he's just chilling against the wall, like in a back alley. So I don't know. I guess that's not a good. That's not a good look either. Hanging out in the back alley waiting for somebody. They're suspected to have been involved in several airplane crashes, such as Flight 007 over the USSR in 1983. USSR leadership took the blame for that crash, but had apparently known about it and that these guys had something to do with it. Last seen on Earth in September 2001 in Canada. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Strange.
When was this book published?
This book, in the beginning notes, if you go back and if you have downloaded or whatever else, I briefly mentioned that the diplomat grandpa that had let his son go through all the files and whatever else and found this book said that there was only a certain amount of these books and that they were updated to everybody that had them all the way up until like 2015, 2012. But the grandson that found this and his friend went and had this book copied and whatever else, whenever this was, I can't remember the date, but he probably says in part 1, and then they leaked this out to the world. So at this point, if this book wasn't updated, let's just say 2000, that's where it would stop. But obviously it's 2001 on this, so it'd have to have been after that, as far as the updates. But they had said that, it was only like 20 of these books or whatever. And
so it was just in circulation amongst
the diplomats and the high-ranking officials, and it was like a field operation book. But then these guys had got it. I don't know
what to do. If basically you grab this book, you scroll through it and say, "Oh shit, your age."
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you were like, if one of the high-ranking officials says we have a down craft, we're blocking off the area. You need to be here ASAP, and then you get there, and you see this guy chilling, all wrangled up by us or by the Russians, apparently. Then you'd be like, oh, this is an Al-Qaeda,
right? And
they're aggressive. So, well, But anyway, I guess that and the thing is, we gotta take this from a point that the government already know most of this, and they work with them, because even here they talked about the plane crash and the leadership of the USSR took blame for the crash. So it's more like just continuing the cover up on things that happen with these races. And I'm guessing that, especially since like 1940-ish or 1947 Roswell area time, that all of our governments pretty much know that there's alien races, and that, it's just, either a written rule or unwritten rule that you just do whatever you have to do to maintain the cover up. Is kind of what I see in my head. But that will lead us into the next one. All right. So the next, Jacob, what do you think? You can put yourself.
I would call this a Nagumak.
Nagumak.
The inspiration for Independence Day.
Yeah. So in the notes, but and we'll get there. But these ones, there's two alien races apparently that have said that, or that they have compared to this, being the Independence Day alien race. These ones look pretty. Now these ones look pretty threatening. So if I saw these guys,
Quite
I would definitely not be like, oh, shit, I'm gonna wait around to see what happens.
like, oh, let's see what these giant 12-foot tentacles do that are coming out of their
Yeah, exactly. So the first known visit to Earth happened only in 1989 with these guys.
which would have been 5 years before Independence Day came out.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Literally, that would have been like Independence Day came out in 94, 95. So
yeah. So this one must have put the scare in
Right.
some, because, well, so it says they abducted humans and exercised control over the minds of the captives, which in the movie they depict that as well. When they were sitting there trying to talk to it, and he was
With
messing with that
telepathy.
scientist guy. And then they use it to their benefit later on, which the reason is unknown. So they get into your mind, maybe take secrets, whatever. I don't know. But it was depicted in the movie that they did that, which is interesting. They're supposedly one of the oldest races, which means it's kind of weird that they only came here in 1989. But I guess, if you're out there.
But as shown in the movie, though, they when the president was being attacked by one of them, the alien was speaking through him, but at the same he said that he knew all of the thoughts of the alien, like they were shared,
Oh, yeah.
like had a shared network.
Yeah.
So that's probably why we have the information as deep on them, more than other races.
Yeah, it does say that they're one of the races that most human governments fear when considering the future of humans. So again, that's probably why they said we need to make a movie that kind of depicts these guys. And then, so that was another thing. There was a lot in the beginning of these notes that, and I think I mentioned it, but they had said that they released a lot of this information to the entertainment world, video games, movies, and whatever else. So that I think it was even on the understanding of, humans that might see them, like, these ones aren't good. And we showed it to you in a movie.
No boy.
But you don't want to fuck around with these guys. I don't know. They don't look like I'd even, that's the thing. Looks can be deceiving, but these ones, I don't think I'd even wait around.
And that's an entire exoskeleton. If you remember from the movie, it's a guy that's inside of that shell.
Yeah.
So that entire thing is just an entire like armor exoskeleton, which makes it even more threatening.
Yeah, agree. So these guys, Nagumak, are the evil guys.
Does it say what constellation that they originate from?
It doesn't give that. On this one, the notes are limited.
Because remember in the movie, it said that they were that they just came in like locusts, and again we were just talking. They would just come in, suck up all the natural resources, and then just leave the barren planet.
Well, and I think that there's got to be races like that. Now we're going to get into this one on the final part of the Council of Five that actually mentions who's actually not letting that happen to Earth. But we'll get there. This one, so it's AKA Genomopo. Genomopo? Genomopo?
I don't know. Would it just be like Nomopo?
Yeah,
like
unless
without the G, because like just like gnome.
Yeah.
I think it'd be Nomopo.
Nomopo, AKA Nomopo. Nagumak. Don't fuck with those guys. All right. Well, on to the next race.
Okay.
So this is the next race. The Zeta Reticuli, which is probably the most famous known. Now kind of just browsing through the notes makes sense, I suppose. Often confused by their appearance to be a race of the Matri or that Celestius Ray, whatever, Greys.
The Greys.
All those dirty dogs that I talked about before, they're not part of that. So the Zeta Reticuli, here, what's their AK?
Shamtala.
Okay.
That's
AKA
Shamtala.
aka Shantala, the Zeta Reticuli. They come from the constellation Nets. They are allies of the Anunnaki and cooperate with them in different planets. They are representatives of the Anunnaki on Earth, and then they send information about the humans back to the Anunnaki at least 25 times a year. The Anunnaki created a subspecies of the Zeta with the purpose of making them look like humans so that they could blend in with us. A lot of physical appearances would be the same so that they can kind of blend in again. And so with that, making the subspecies, they became some of the pharaohs of Egypt, apparently, in these notes. So that would be why it would seem familiar.
Which would also explain, which we'll cover in some of the other case studies, is a lot of pharaohs in Egypt did a lot of the like head bite, which would elongate their heads, to look like the past pharaoh. Right? Well, which would make sense that these guys did that because you don't look at their head. They have elongated heads, literally similar to how Egyptian pharaohs would elongate their heads like that.
Yeah, and I would say that I think that might be Cain.
Cain's relative.
Yeah, I think he hasn't really said much. He's still just observing what we're doing down here, part of the show. But I would say that these guys, obviously, like if they're part with the Anunnaki, which is, apparently the people that spliced the DNA and kind of made us hybrids. I mean, not even the hybrids of Zeta and Anunnaki, but hybrids of mammals and I guess more advanced creatures, humans. So they're all part of that. Would seem that, and to me, I don't know. They say that the Anunnaki is going to come back over, take us over. Some people say as slaves, which they made us for that reason, to mine gold. I don't know. It seems like at this point, if you haven't came back and we've evolved on our own, like you either have to like just wipe us out or participate in our evolution.
I still think if they can come back, they can just walk in and,
Well, yeah. I mean, if they essentially, if they wanted to, I just don't see it at this point. I mean, it would be kind of weird at this point if somebody that made, an ape into a more advanced slave, let all these years pass and come while they're advancing into like, hopefully, raising their conscious level and becoming part of the constellations, and then just come back and make them slaves again would be kind of bogus.
Well, yeah, I hear you, but you got to think about it like that. All these years, you're talking about tens of thousands of years.
Yeah, it wouldn't be long for them, for sure.
Exactly. You're talking about in the scheme of things.
Well, and their time might be different than our time as well. So yeah, that part.
They're dealing with light and space time.
But so again, like here, it says that they, the hybrids give information back on humans at least 25 times per year. Then they would have to say, all right, these guys are becoming their own creature now. We either come back and end this, or we let this continue and let them evolve into their own species. You would think. I mean, that would seem fair. You put us here, we didn't want to, but you left, so we're not slaves anymore to whatever you created us for.
Right.
You would think you'd come back and let us evolve, if you came back at all. At this point, like
if you came back at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say at this point, like if you haven't came back, I don't know that maybe your gold shortage isn't so much a shortage anymore. Maybe they found a asteroid that was full of gold and we're like, fuck it, we don't need planet Earth no more. I don't know. They do say the coming back of planet Nibiru is where the Anunnaki are at, and when it circles back around and in that constellation or that rotation, that they'd come back in and make their presence known. But again, even making their presence known doesn't mean they'd come over and destroy or take over. So
right.
That part is.
I don't know what else their goal would be, though.
Yeah. Or just to say, we created you, and so like, I don't know, be a part of us, work with us, something. I don't know. It would be kind of, I guess, that's one thing is like, if you look at something like a pet, you'd still have love for it. But if you made something into a slave, I don't think you'd really. Yeah, you wouldn't really care.
Right. You just care about the results. You don't really care about.
So, and then if you left it, like let's say you had cattle and you had somebody bought you another ranch or whatever else, and you just left these ones because you didn't want to spend all the money or the resources to take them back with you, and you come back 10 years later and they're just roaming around this empty field, like, I don't think you'd give a shit.
Yeah, I don't have an emotional attachment.
Yeah, you just probably eat them if you're hungry.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard. It's hard to say, but I do feel that being spliced into, let's just say, apes, and that our DNA created humans, or a mammal evolved into a human with this splicing, they must have gave us emotional reactions, because just like in nature, you kill something to survive. We just kill shit because we can, and then some people are just really sad when they see things like that. So we definitely have emotions.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be before. Honestly, I think that alien intervention would be before the age of the pharaoh. At the age of the pharaoh, we're talking about 5,000-6,000 years ago. So where?
Well, I think there might have been intervention long before.
Well before that.
But I think that just like there was a cartoon of something I watched, I can't remember this alien, but he said the reason that we don't come back is every time we come back, you either want to kill us or treat us like gods. And we just want to interact and help you. So I'm thinking, like, at that time, they had made you came in and interacted, but now they came back and then we made them gods. We made them pharaohs. And then, kind of, I don't know. At that point, I don't think that you're just like, hey, let's work together and figure something out. You're just worshiping because you're like, wow, we're stupid compared to you.
Because you seem like you are a divine entity at that.
Or treat them like, the actual creator when they're just like demigods or whatever. But yeah, all up for speculation, I suppose. Let's see. The most well-known of they were with the Anunnaki or whatever, who was removed from the power by the reptilians. They infiltrated themselves in the court as temple priests. The first reports of Zetas on Earth go back to 4000 AD, but that number is most likely higher, just because we don't have really great recorded history, and the stuff that we do is either destroyed or hidden, hence the lost info. So they were the first hybrids to be engineered by the Anunnaki, supposedly. And that part's kind of weird too, because if you're talking the Zeta were hybrids of the Anunnaki, that wouldn't be their first hybrid, because their first, well, I guess hybrid alien. So we'd be a hybrid.
Right, but we could be a hybrid that was 10,000 years, 100,000 years later. Yeah. They could have had the Zetas around a million years before the humans.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just thinking the first hybrids on Earth, but yeah, that makes more sense. They would probably be the first hybrids on Earth as well.
Right.
Yeah, based on our...
They just weren't from Earth.
Right. Yeah, that makes more sense. The Zeta subspecies still exists on Earth, and still at least 30% is present and the same physical characteristics of human beings, so they blend in again. Their sexual organs are supposedly the same as humans. Again, I just imagine to keep the hybrid race that they have going on Earth, to blend in, watch us, maintain things. I'm pretty sure that they've got themselves involved in some conflicts.
And so if you feel like you're somewhat alien, there's about a 30% chance you have alien DNA in.
I feel like I am. And
there's a good chance you'd be insane. Just saying.
I think if you resonate, because we've seen the alien races, just this category that we've done has got a lot of response. So I feel that either in this time frame, people are waking up, or it's been enough evolution of this hybrid that there probably is something in you that feels like you're connected to something outside this world. So congratulations to all of you for watching and liking it. Also, the Zeta still exists on Earth, again, blah, 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 same kind of thing. And their location on Earth is unknown. So I think it's funny on some of these notes, they say their location on Earth is, by Mount, whatever. You would think that there would just be like expeditions that were like, all right, going to get these guys, going to find some information. But yeah, I mean, the
And
Zeta.
see, it even shows the pharaohs right there on the
Yeah.
bottom left or the bottom right.
Yeah.
That's one of the subspecies, the one of the hybrids.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Elongated skulls and
right.
whatever else. So
the head binding.
yep. And they, I mean, obviously the amount of things that Egypt did, whether, pyramids, whatever, it's
Absolute
just mind blowing. Yeah. I don't have that one set up. Mind blowing. Hopefully that our sound effects are working today. We'll find that out. All right, with that, we're going to go on to the next race. Race. Oh. All right, so anyway, this race here, there's not a very good image. Just kind of a squinty alien kind of guy.
You should get that. You kill something. You should just put the image and not the notes.
I can't. Well, I can, but
it.
it'd take too long to do that.
Right. I'm just saying, Lewis is gonna see everything you're reading. Like it's.
We can pick another one.
We don't know.
All right, so this one, they don't have a real good image. It says no image in the book. Basically just a squinty-eyed, like, outline shadow of a person. The eyes are right here behind my shoulder. But there's nothing to see, and it's really not the depicted image of them, per se, because it says no image.
Origin information as well.
Yeah, so their origin is unknown in the book. They are often seen near or flying by volcanoes, which I find is interesting because there's a lot of that. So I'm guessing that there's probably a lot of bases in the bottom of volcanoes.
Right.
Because you hear that a lot.
The thermal resistant ships, I would think, obviously, we can't get inside it.
Yeah, I was going to say a plasma force field that just go right through lava. It doesn't even touch the ship. But yeah, actually, when they talk about some of these crazy ships and their possibilities, I mean, you can go anywhere with that, like it's just either a part of their conscious, which sometimes is driven by their mind. So they can just, make it do whatever, defy physics, defy, anything. So interesting enough. But anyway, you do find out a lot that come by volcanoes or fly out of volcanoes and things of that nature, which would be a great place to hide because humans ain't going anywhere near it. So they have never contacted humans, and there are no reports of violence or abductions by these guys. I don't know how you'd know that anyway, since there's no picture or what they look like.
That's what I was wondering about the the contradictory reports on what they like, unless they say,
well,
"Hey, I'm Terrais."
Well, there's one that was basically because their suits were invisible, but then it talked about last seen on Earth, and I was like, how is that? They have suits that I can't see them. But they said that they made cameras that could find their ships or them. But either way, there is some contradictory in them. But I'm thinking like the governments maybe were already in communication with them, so they know they were here. They just don't know why. And obviously they were saying, hey, we don't want to cause you any problems or whatever if they were talking with our governments. So we had to come and get some samples from your volcano or something. I don't know. I don't know. Several contradictory reports about their appearance. So that's even in the notes.
Right.
So, I mean, and then again, last sighted off the coast of Norway in 2000. So it's like, well, what are you looking for? But maybe, at the end of it, they talk about some of their ships too. So maybe like the shape of their ships indicates which ones they are.
Well, it says that these ones don't hide from view much. These ones have no problem being exposed, even as discreet as they are.
You would think that they'd have a better image than the rest. Again, that is one of those weird things. Take it as what you will, but there is no image. It doesn't seem like these guys really have much to be worried about, or for us being worried about them. They're just coming down, checking things out, and dip out. Don't really have agendas apparently, and really unknown. So, next race. All right, now on to the next ones. Jacob, take this away.
Okay, we are going to call this guy a Puratop Alumu, aka Nosif 7.
I said it sounded like a cologne, but
Nosif 7.
pour it on your skin and taste. Oh, I'm sure that is exactly how they interact with their abductees.
If you're walking through the park, they're nocturnal, so if you're walking through the park late at night and you smell something amazing, it may just be Nosif 7.
And if you hear a voice that says, lick it, lick the skin,
lick it. Now come with me.
Then it might be these guys.
You might just be adopted by them.
Yeah. I think at that point, you're either on acid or you're adopted by aliens, one or the other. Their origin is also unknown, which we're getting a couple of those. They are often sighted in the northwest of the United States, especially the Oregon area.
So maybe you are just on acid.
Yeah.
Oregon. They got decriminalized Oregon.
Well, that's true.
Maybe they just on it.
Well, we're gonna have to get.
Maybe they just on
it does go back to the 80s. Let's see when we get farther in the notes here. Well, I guess.
Yeah, Oregon's always had a reputation
that
of
is
being
true.
pretty liberal.
Yeah, they do.
They definitely take a little bit more of a cozy route.
They grow a lot of mushrooms up there too. So
indeed,
yeah,
they do.
In the 1980s and the 1990s. Yeah, exactly. So I've heard. In the 1980s and 1990s, they almost crashed a few times against the U.S. Navy ships while the Americans were testing new sonar and radar systems. Now, I have heard this, but it was also way back, like in Roswell, that I think it was actually radar that was technology that came down from Nikola Tesla had interfered with alien ships, and that was why we were getting down crafts, because
they were having that also. You remember the 80s and 90s when we kept having beached whales and everything up in the northwest, like northwest area.
I do kind of remember something about that now.
Yeah, there was a bunch of beached whales and a bunch of different beached mammal like wildlife.
Right.
And because of because of experiment, they were saying that it was because of military.
I was going to say, even with their communications, even if you put off,
any type of sonar is going to disrupt animal wildlife.
Yeah, I was going to say, even all the background noise from ships, and just like a few years ago, there was all those dolphins that ended up just beaching themselves because they were basically going insane from all of the ship noise and radars and all that stuff. So in the 1980s, 1990s, they almost crashed due to some sonar and radar systems of ours. In this notes, they are peaceful and mostly nocturnal. They look kind of goofy. I mean, like
they kind of look like.
I'm trying to think.
I'm thinking they kind of look like Mr. Burns when they gave him those drugs and they thought it was an alien and he was wandering through the woods.
Oh, yeah.
You can pull up that image where he's like, oh, yeah. Like, that's what he looks like to me.
That's a good description. That is a good description. I was wondering what this looks familiar of, but that is
like
that's
the only thing I can think of that it resembles.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's pretty accurate. They were last sighted in 2000 near San Francisco, so maybe coming a little south, trying to maybe go surfing, check out, trying to get down to Hollywood, do a little show or two, make some money, fit in with us, buy some beachfront property. But yeah, so these guys, the limited notes just seem like also just observers and no real threat, no real want to interact with the governments or anything. Apparently they don't know much about them except for when they've almost crashed their ships. Just seems kind of like maybe for other planets, just observers, or go and take samples and find out what makes up Earth.
Right. Go down, take some core samples.
Yeah. Which I could see happen by a lot of races. Like, they don't want to get involved in the political stuff or the evil reptilians or whatever. They just hey, we're just kind of curious on how you guys survive. What's your, atmosphere made up of, your minerals, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd be curious if I was an advanced race, just in general. So, some just don't seem that mean. These guys seem to be peaceful and mostly nocturnal. So, all right, next race. Alrighty, next race. These ones, I'll take the easy one. This is the X1Z, aka the X.
The X.
The X. There also is no image for these guys. Just this weird little outline thing that's in the book. But only sighted 2 times on Earth, so apparently no real interest. According to the reports from other races, they are able to shapeshift as many as 4 times in 10 seconds. Well, that's why there's no image.
Right. What image would you use?
Exactly. Their origin also unknown. They conduct human abductions and perform medical experiments on their subjects. Yikes. Is right. And have been visiting Earth since the 1500s. They only 2 confirmed sightings happened in Turkey somewhere. So I mean, yeah, I guess they're not on Earth, but they come down and abduct people so that they can kind of find out. Again, I don't think it's like to them like it'd be like if we went and found a new species of like lizards, we'll just say, and we picked one up and we're like, hey, let's take this into a classroom and let a bunch of people dissect it. I mean, it'd be the same thing to like, you know, these really advanced races.
It really would not be much more than that when you really think about it, because how advanced they are. The fact that they can reach Earth and go away from Earth and go to different galaxies, universe, whatnot, like they're so far beyond. It's literally we're talking about.
Yeah, and I see it as
compared to ants.
And I see people would be like, oh, you know, and it is kind of scary to think like, hey, they're just going to come down and do whatever they want. But in their point of view, it'd be like, you know, in our science labs, we have a whole thing of frogs.
What would we be to them? We're literally we're such a like we're not even a subspecies. We're such a below species that they would have no use for us. Like
we can't even get over our own shit between our own race. You know, with different reasons, but we don't travel the stars. We don't really advance. We have advanced for a lot, but we haven't, you know, and in the current times, and really in the last 300 years.
We're still dealing with the most basic of man, woman, black, white,
well, I think even like
rich, poor, that we can't even get to
male, female,
stars in the sky. It's like
we're very primitive when it comes to that.
So knock her over the head and drag her back to your cave.
Yeah. So when you think of these kind of races that don't have any really, you know, they've only been on Earth twice, they just don't really give a shit. They just like look at us as a creature to study. Like, what are these turds doing?
And it says that they've been visiting since the 1500s.
Yeah. So
but there's only 2 confirmed
seen on Earth.
Right. So it's
so they literally just come up, beam something up, take it back, study it. Now, it doesn't say if it returns it just says that they perform medical experiments on their subjects. Now, there are like regression therapies that talk about people getting probed and things happening. However, they get returned, obviously, in order to get a regression therapy, but this doesn't specify on that. X1Z, the X. They just do whatever. They just do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, that'll work.
So, next race. All right, the next race. The Caravaldi, I suppose.
I'd say Caravaldi.
Caravaldi. These guys, they do look kind of like your typical alien guy.
Your average long neck, long limbs, terrifying, wide-eyed, bulbous, like alien.
Yeah. The picture that we found in the book is slightly different, but very same characteristics as far as facial features, eyes, things like that. But these guys, as they look, known to be extremely dangerous at times to humans, as well as other alien races. And they come from the constellation Chameleon. However, we're butchering all of them.
It's chameleon, bro. It's just like it's just
Well, you never know how they might say it in their native tongue.
Well, they probably don't even call it chameleon in their native tongue. They probably, yeah, exactly. Or they just like close their eyes and look at you. And you just know what it's called.
Yeah, exactly. They'll send a color out into the air, and you'll be like, "Oh, what he's talking about." They have permanently been involved in conflicts.
I don't understand that.
With a few alien races, 500 Earth years.
How are you permanently involved in it?
Well, I would have to say,
like, there's going to be zero resolution. There's no possible resolution.
I would say maybe because like their agenda, there is
just genocide. We have to wipe you out. There's going to be no peace. No peace.
Yeah, I'm thinking like if their purpose, they just don't have that gear to like reason things out or talk. It's just like, fuck you, I'm going all the way, going Trump. We're fucking you up and everything in our way. They're rarely seen on Earth, and they live to be 150 years old, reportedly. They are 3 meters tall, which is 9 foot, and they have 4 arms. So that's pretty tall,
long,
pretty freaky.
Yeah.
4 arms would definitely be intimidating.
From a 9 foot tall creature.
Yeah, you definitely ain't gonna slip a sucker punch in on them.
Right.
Last sighting in New Orleans, USA in 1976. So, that's, that wasn't that long ago, but it,
about 45 years since they've been around.
Yeah, I mean, you always kind of wonder why, like, these places they're last seen, like, what was that purpose for that last little encounter? But these guys apparently it probably isn't good. I don't know. They don't really come to Earth, so it's like I don't think that they want anything to do with Earth particularly, but maybe other races that are trying to take over, they come in contact with them, and then there's a little battle royale, something. Permanently involved in conflicts.
Always stirring shit up. They are.
Yeah, sons of bitch and Caravaldi.
They just look like if I was 9 feet tall and had 4 arms, I'd probably always. Just saying. Just saying.
All right.
What are you gonna do about it?
Well, yeah. All right, next race. All right, here we go. We're finishing up these alien races. We might not even go too far into the notes. There's a lot of notes at the end of this that basically talk about their ships, things they've been involved with, presidents, prime ministers, all that stuff. We're probably going to wrap this up in part 3, not go into the notes, but I do recommend that you go get the KGB Alien Races book and research it yourself. It's actually very interesting, a lot of cool stuff. So, the Alpha. Yeah, or yeah, I don't know. So they come from the constellation Boots near Boots near Celsius Primus. Celsius Primus. Yeah. They also resemble the Greys, which is a lot that resemble the Greys. So no wonder that there's a lot of things that people say, like all these different races, and they say that they're all Greys. It's because there's like 500 different races of Greys.
Right.
Well, there's only 57 in this book, but half of them are a type of gray. So,
or at least resemble.
Yeah.
Have characteristics.
Yeah. So it definitely would be hard to tell some of these, but they're not related to the Greys. These ones in particular. Race has 4 different genders, and they are known to be benevolent. Now, the 4 different genders is weird, I guess.
The breeding process is what gets me on 4 different genders.
Well, some say that they, like, there was one previous, I think in part 1, that they all could breed with one another. I was like, just so they were different, but they all could breed with one another. Was like, but would consciously like implant you with something.
Right, but the question is that okay? Let's say you have a 1 through 4, and a 1 and a 1 bred together. Would you get the same type of offspring as a 1 and a 4 breed?
Yeah, like
or a 4 and a 2.
Well, like the YX chromosome.
Exactly. Yeah. Would you get the same, or would you have 4 different species, like, or would you just have 4 different genders? Like, that doesn't make any sense on the offspring. That
would definitely have to be explained more by one of their biological scientists or whatever else, because it is
So if
very
we can hit
confusing.
that button so we can get some more research on
Oh, on the
that. We
pound
would
search it.
love our viewers and our listeners to help us out with that on some links to help us find some
Yeah.
more research.
How does
on.
4 different genders mate and make the
There'll be a
same?
free T-shirt for the viewer that gets us the link that helps us find that information.
Or the alien that it comes down and
All right.
interacts, whatever. You still get a T-shirt. I know that's what you want.
Just don't think it's good. I don't want to.
I'll go. Bring me back. I'll come back as long as you bring me back. If I go, I'll tell everybody the story, and I'll let everybody know the real truth, what's going on. All right. The purpose of their visits is unknown. Again, a lot of these last ones, everything's unknown really about them. They seem to have special interests in raw materials and minerals. That makes sense to me, especially like if, gold being very good in space,
Right.
it's protective of radiance, like
The
the sun.
transmitter as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's reflective in nature. So some of that stuff makes sense to me. They've been sighted near old mines, so again, gold is the one thing that we've always been interested in. So I think that is kind of like depicted in our DNA because we're always about it. But I think it goes farther into what its purposes are in space.
Right.
So that makes sense. Their last sighting was in Costa Rica in 2005. So this was even updated after 2005. I think we had some all the way up to 2009 that were updated. So let's see here. How many races do we have left? Okay. Yeah, well, you know what? We're gonna stop it there. We're gonna leave.
Well, once you say on to the next one, and then we'll just tie it in the next one.
Well, I'm gonna end it here and just go on from here.
Oh, okay.
But we'll end it here. We're gonna do a part 4. That way we can tell some of the notes as well. This way Jacob got to be a part of the alien races. You guys seem to like it. If you guys have anything that you'd like to add, and if you guys have a link and tell us about interspecies races or races breeding and their genders, the lostinfopodcast@gmail.com, and we will go over that. And if it's something creative and something fun and it's something that we can get into, then we will send you a teacher from the Lost Info Podcast. We got a lot to talk about, so make sure that you go to YouTube, subscribe, and like. We're going to have a lot of things coming out here in the next week. So make sure that you stay tuned to the Lost Info Podcast. A lot of new exciting things coming. With that, we're going to wrap up. So the Lost Info Podcast is going to be out for this episode on Alien Races Part 3. As always, this is Keeping You Awake, Jake.
And Jake.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Peace.